and welcome to the NoCB cast.
We're having massive technical issues today. I apologize. All right, where is my moderator tab? Is it anywhere? Here we go. All right. Hello and welcome to, hopefully, to NoCB in the world. To NoCB, a highly professional grand strategy podcast. I am your host, I guess, for now, TJ Hafer, and with me our wonderful friends, including Rose.
Hello.
And including Lambert.
Hello there.
And we're not going to have Caption Bot this week, unfortunately, because I'm pretty sure that Voice Meter is my ultimate eternal enemy and wants to mess something up every time I try to install it. So, yes, Voice Meter is the leader of the AI rebellion, Alpha Strike. That's where it's going to start.
Where do you think Loris has gone? He's been AI'd up.
Yeah, exactly. The AI already got Loris. They were using the sheep as carriers, and yeah, that's definitely what happened.
They've put the 5G in the sheep, and it's got him. Oh God!
I know. Yeah, that's what's been happening this whole time. We talked about how the sheep carry the Welsh internet, right? So they got upgraded to 5G. They turned into killer cyborg sheep, and yeah, now all of Wales has been destroyed. So
it could have gone two ways. He could have had a decent upload speed, and so you could edit the podcast in a timely manner, or he could have got abducted by the Borg. And I mean, I guess we know which one happened.
Yeah.
No, see, I think he mistook the fact that 5G meant more bars, and he went looking for those bars.
That's probably actually closer to the truth. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he's probably at one of those bars right now.
Probably. Though for some reason he's British, sorry. Welsh. He calls them pubs.
Welsh is British. Yeah. Welsh is still British.
Yeah. True.
On the island of Great Britain.
He's not here. He can't argue.
Right.
That is true.
Yeah.
I mean, for all everyone in chat knows, we could just say he's sleeping by the fireplace.
Yeah.
Or more horse problems.
More horses, more horse problems. Anyhow, I believe that this is typically, from what I've been told, a podcast where we talk about grand strategy news.
Really?
So we do have.
I thought we talked about bars.
I mean that too. You know, yeah, that too. Bars, sheep, and grand strategy, the three food groups, of course. So,
what about spices?
Livestock is pretty useful in Imperator. Just saying,
it is. It's a good trade good. Top trade goods. Top Lambert. Top 10 trade goods. Go.
Oh, okay. Right now, or in the next patch, because they're very different.
Let's keep it moving. Go. Number 10.
And you want me to do it in reverse order? Fuck.
Right, yeah, this is a countdown.
All right, well, fuck it. Iron horses, precious metals, salt, grain, fish, gemstones, spices, 2 left. I'm going to go with steppe horses, and I'm going to go with finally some fucking something else.
Come on.
I'm trying to think of them. No,
this is a professional podcast. You're really making us look bad. Come on.
You're making
the
it
robot
harder.
might be better.
Yeah.
Leather.
All right, that's it. There we go. Top 10
really?
Trade goods in Imperator.
Yeah,
that's
your Drilla.
That's the definitive list.
What's the one that makes more citizens? That's
the ones that make your citizens happy is papyrus. Papyrus, not leather. There you go. Papyrus is great.
Okay.
No, but not papyrus. But what of them actually makes your citizens? No, it increases your tech from your citizens.
Spices.
Well, spices.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
spices make citizens happy.
There's one that increases their output as well. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Dyes, maybe.
No, it's not dyes. Because I remember when I played Boy, I turned them into a migratory tribe, ran them up there, and then placed my capital in to get the resource. What was it?
Where was your capital?
Maybe it was Papyrus.
Yeah, Papyrus increases output, research output, but not citizen output. Citizen output is another trade good that I've forgotten.
Yeah. Trade goods.
I don't know any of them.
Oh, I also forgot about wine. Wine's really good as well.
That's true. You know where there's lots of trade goods though.
Spicy Islands over here.
Spicy Islands, pretty good.
Southeast Asia, yeah, of course. Which is our EU4 dev diary for this week. Which apparently I'm on the wrong one. I've gotten 0 things right today so far. If anyone is keeping count.
I mean, you were here on time. You just weren't ready on time.
Right, yeah. Because I'm like, oh yeah, this is a new computer. And I have not installed anything on it yet, so that probably should have. Basically,
what happened, folks, is TJ got a new computer since last week. I installed the NVIDIA voice capture thing,
and I installed a voice modulator that also screwed me up for a bit.
Yeah,
super professional.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, so we got a dev diary on maritime Southeast Asia. We got to see mainland Southeast Asia last week, so now we're talking about Malaysia, Borneo, the Spice Islands, Java, Sumatra, all those places down there, which have not gotten a whole lot of love in EU4 in the past. They've broken up some of the nations and added some tributaries. They've added an impassable region to interior Sumatra. We've got some new tags. We've got some animist and Buddhist kingdoms on Borneo, it looks like, that weren't there before. Used to just be the Sultanate just kind of hanging out there by itself until somebody colonized it. They're going to have stuff to do in the early game now, which is cool. The thing that I think is most interesting... Oh, go ahead.
Something's going off, and they can't hear me on the stream. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
I guess I'll just play this. Can you guys hear me now?
We've been able to hear you the whole time.
Yeah, I know you guys could hear me in Discord, but they said they couldn't hear me. Yep.
Well, I
have no idea. OBS forgot about NVIDIA.
I'm going to do some snaps here so I know that I have to edit this part out of the final show. There we go. All right. Those are my marker snaps. Okay. See, the AI, they're starting with us because they know that we are like humanity's last true hope.
Oh yeah.
For survival. So they're like, we're going to start by discrediting the NoCB podcast. By the way, I was scrambling so hard that I forgot to tweet that we were live. So let me do that now.
More snaps.
Yeah, more snaps.
We are so professional, guys.
Well,
they started with Loris and they're already onto us. It's crazy. We're so screwed.
Either that or Father Loris was just the glue holding our karmic fortunes together, and when he's not here, it just all falls apart. So
yeah, like it's only a matter of time before
irritating, and then nothing else is going to go right ever again.
All right, I'm going to ask you to never do that
ever. Okay.
No, it's all good.
Agreed.
It was just very, very loud in my headphones. I had them turned up too high.
That's not Lambert's fault. I'd say that's your fault.
Yeah.
No, because
I take no blame for that particular part.
No, because I'm a narcissist, so nothing can ever be my fault. It all has to be someone else's fault. Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair.
Unless let's not go there.
I can empathize with that position.
Yeah, so Southeast Asia, they're adding some production modifiers as well to areas that were historically large producers of spices. They're also adding a new trade good of cloves, which was specifically only grown in what in the EU4 are represented as Tidor and Ternate, and were hugely, hugely valuable to the point that people wanted to steal them and go plant them somewhere else. So aside from just generic spices, now we're going to have super spices that you can only get in a couple of places, which should hopefully encourage there to be a little bit more of a race for that part of the world. I feel like it kind of gets neglected. Like if you're playing multiplayer and like you have multiple colonizers, it seems like people don't really like go for Southeast Asia that often.
Well, then they don't know how to play the game. Southeast Asia is amazingly wealthy.
I mean, it already is.
You want to be the colonizer that gets them. That'll bring you the big ducats.
Well, here's the other thing, because I haven't played the Ottomans in a long time, and part of why the Ottoman Empire went into decline is because they were charging all these middleman fees for bringing goods from Southeast Asia into Europe. But then, like, when the Spanish and the Portuguese found other ways around them, basically, their economy kind of dried up. I'm curious if either of you have seen or have played as Ottomans. Like, does that happen? Like, does that actually happen in the game where your income dries up?
No.
You know, after colonization happens?
No, because trade doesn't work. It's not.
Trade doesn't work like that.
We can go back onto this again, but it all boils down to trade isn't trade.
Well, I mean, there are certain things that EU4 trade doesn't model, but it seems like Europeans redirecting wealth like around the Cape of Good Hope so they don't have to go through the Ottomans. That seems like something that EU4's trade system would be able to model.
It would if it was the fact that the Ottomans got these spices, if the trade flowed through the Ottomans into Europe at the start of the game, and that's what made the Ottomans powerful and wealthy and all that, and then that dried up and there was less trade, then sure, but that's not, it doesn't work that way. The money that the Ottomans makes from trade is, I mean, it comes from Aleppo and it comes from Crimea and it comes from Alexandria, which, probably get a tiny bit from the Spice Islands, but there's no one pushing it that way. So, I mean, the people that would pull it into like the Gulf of Aden, they don't have the range to put a merchant in the Spice Islands to get the trade going that way. There's no chain possible at the start of the game.
I see. So the problem is that the Southeast Asians don't have any incentive to create trade networks with the Ottomans in the early game because it all flows in one direction.
Yeah, I mean, if you were Brunei, you're never going to want anyone from your west to take your cloves or say your ternate or whatever, to take your cloves and bring them west because you get nothing for it. I mean, sorry, you do get 10%, is it production bonus for each merchant that's in the node? But then you lose like 90% of your trade income when that happens, so you never want it.
Yeah, trade.
There's no incentive to be.
Trade in EU4 is much better than trade in CK2, but it's not where it should be, not where it could be, not where we want it to be.
Yeah,
it's not where it's ever. It's never going to be that in EU4. In EU5, I'm hoping for a radically different trade system that isn't bad. But right now it's bad.
Yeah, because CK2 kind of does the same thing, where everything flows out of China and toward Europe, but it doesn't really go the other way. So you get money for owning trade posts along the Silk Road, but like nothing bad is going to happen to the east if there's like a big war that blocks off the Silk Road trade routes. Like all of the problems are going to happen in Europe because it is just modeled as a sucking of money out of the east.
Yeah.
Which is something that that CK2 actually can model as well, because if you block a part of the Silk Road, the places downstream of it do suffer for it.
Mm-hmm.
Very true.
That's really not modeled in any real way in EU4, though. Which is sad, because trade is a huge part of this era. It's where the European nations kind of went, we should probably trade, because it makes us wealthy as fuck.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, economics is like the big part of this era. Like all of the things that happen, it's for economics. So the rich people, the kings and the dukes and all that, just so that they could get like filthy rich. That's a driving force of like most of the conflicts. And trade is one of the most, profitable conflicts you can do. And it's just sad that it isn't modeled well.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know that that's. I mean, I don't know if that's something they could really fix in EU4. I mean, Paradox has been known to like completely overhaul core systems. We've talked about it before. You know, they've redone Estates, they redid Warfare in Stellaris, they redid the tile system in Stellaris. Yeah, it seems like it would be yanking out so many of the roots of EU4 that it would probably be easier to just make a new game. But I don't know if they're founding this new studio in Tinto, and if their MO is not MMO. EU4 Europa Universalis Online is coming. Actually, there is an MMO that's kind of like EU Online that's coming out somewhat soon. But
can I play as a pirate so I can do some EU4 trading? Just steal things.
You can play as a Roman. There's a faction that for some reason
I said
like
pirate,
Romans.
not Roman.
Well,
I know you.
What's the difference?
I know you.
Yeah.
Well, anytime that Roman and pirate comes up in the same sentence, I'm like, well, you know that Julius Caesar did this whole... Yeah. But I guess everyone knows that story of him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I think is really cool? And TJ found it on Reddit, is someone put together all the lovely screenshots.
Yes.
Into one beautiful map here.
Yeah, let me...
it's Wureen.
Sure that...
Wureen is the person who did it.
Yes, thank you very much for putting that collage together. Yeah, the other really interesting thing about this region that I think is going to make it create a lot of interesting opportunities for conflict when you're playing here is if you want to unite Malaya, it's extremely religiously divided. Like you've got animists, you've got Buddhists, you've got Hindus, you've got Muslims. Like it's a very, very religiously disunited area, and like that decision on whether to take humanist or religious ideas, I think, is going to be extremely important if you want to do a Malaya run, just because you're going to have so many different subjects of so many different faiths, and it's like, do you want to just tell them do whatever you want, or do you want to make everybody, conform
listen
to
what
thing?
You want?
Right.
Which do you usually go for? Do you play in the region much?
I have not played a lot in Southeast Asia yet, just because I was waiting for them to do some kind of I've played in mainland Southeast Asia a fair bit. The islands, not so much. Yeah, I think like my first campaign, I will probably try to do like a humanist Malayan empire. That's just like everybody can have whatever religion you want. We don't care as long as we're making lots of money. So yeah, I'm not sure who I'm going to start as yet. I haven't like picked. I'll definitely probably do a Vietnam run, as far as the mainlanders, but like for the maritime Southeast Asia, maybe one of those little kingdoms on, Sulawesi, the like weird kind of octopus looking island. One? Yeah. I might try one of those guys out.
I usually call that one the Special K Island.
Well, I think because this used to be just one nation here. I've started out as them a few times, rushed to be able to colonize, and then started colonizing Australia. That was fun.
Yeah, you can definitely do that.
At the time, it was hard to get big enough to go after the main islands over here.
Yeah, and it should be maybe a little bit easier now that they're kind of broken up a little bit more, and you could like support the independence of, tributaries and like do all these like the little micro diplomacy moves. Yeah, especially now that there's that Polynesian Triangle trade node that feeds from California into Australia, you can actually create a fairly profitable trade route in the Pacific. Australia is not just like this afterthought that maybe I'll get around to it if I run out of other things to colonize. Even in this current patch, that's true. So yeah,
I quite like playing as Malacca.
Yeah,
if I'm playing Sunni, I like Malacca, and Sunni. Honestly, the best part about playing Sunni is the legalism to mysticism slider, where you can be like, oh, I've now gone to the end of the legalism area. I've got 75 legalism. I'm just going to debase my currency and get rid of the corruption immediately. So it's just a nice chunky boost of cash, like every, I don't know, couple of years. It's great. I love that.
I hadn't thought about using it that way. Yeah.
But my favorite for playing as Hindu, which is actually my favorite religion in the game, is
really?
Yeah, Majapahit. I love playing as Majapahit.
Majapahit, Mapajapit,
Jabadahabit. Yep.
Jahabit. Yes.
Yeah. I love playing as Majapahit. They're a lot of fun.
I'm really curious to see what their mission tree is going to look like, because as they mentioned in the dev diary, they used to control like huge amount of land. They used to control the Straits of Malacca and were like this major, major powerful trade kingdom in the region. And in 1444, they are very much in decline. So I'm assuming their mission tree is going to be very much based around like reconquest and reclaiming the past glory of the Majapahit Empire.
And in 1356, which is when Mayo and Taxes has its start date. Majapahit is they have a lot of vassals all over the islands, and they all want you dead. So they've been in decline for quite some time. But they're also a lot of fun to play in M&T if you can sort out your vassal problem, which is very difficult.
Since Loris isn't here, I'm just going to say the word Tibet. So there we go.
Yep, there we go.
Got both of those checked off for this week. Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the other things I showed off is that they're using this new localization thing that they added for Kingdom of God, where you can pick what the Malayan Empire is called when you form it. You'll have Malaya. You'll also have Nusantara, I think is how you would pronounce that, which I guess is more of a local name for what they would call that area. And then you can also reform the Srivijaya Empire if you start out as Srivijaya. So that's cool. And then
there's also Majapahit Empire.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a little thing, but it like matters a lot, especially if you're kind of a role play player, that just to be able to pick what your name actually says on the map.
Also, two things on this. Firstly, I hope the flag has changed, because the flag of Malaya or Nusantara or whichever one you go with is, I don't know if it's historical. It might be historical, but I think we can all agree there are some historical flags that are fucking ugly, and Malaya is one of them. Sorry.
Let me see.
It's actually awful.
Is it the one that's like the red, white, black, and yellow square?
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. So I hope that's changed. I really do. And secondly, I really like that the names are now sort of, you can change them this way. And I really hope that system is implemented in other places. Like, for example, when you're playing as the Ottomans, as soon as you take Constantinople, you take the decision, it changes Constantinople to your capital, changes it to Turkish, gets some development, blah, blah, blah. But the other thing that decision does is it turns you into an empire, and your bonuses for being an empire, relatively minor. You get an extra diplomat, you get some other stuff. Cultural union of your culture. I really hope that when you become an empire, either through that decision or just getting enough development, your name will change, or you can choose to change your name. So I want it to be called the Ottoman Empire as soon as I take Constantinople. I think if Austria gets enough development, maybe through, annexing Hungary and Bohemia and everyone else that they get fucking PUs on, they should be called the Austrian Empire. If Britain gets a ton of colonies and they got a ton of development from that, British Empire, I want names to change like that. I want change.
I know this. I think that I should just be able to type in whatever name I want at any time. Like, let's just go a little bit further with it. Like, I know they sold that customization pack for CK2 that let you do it. And like, people always complain, Paradox is nickel and diming us. It's like, yeah, but I'd pay like $2 for a button that lets me change the name of my country in EU4 whenever I want. Like, yeah, sure.
Ability to turn that off in multiplayer, and I totally agree. I don't trust people.
Yeah, well, you could have a rule for your multiplayer that the name has to be RP appropriate or you get banned. But
all my multiplayer games from now on are role play focused because meta chasers hurt games.
Yeah, it's like a very it's like having like an NBA player show up to like a casual basketball, like street basketball game and just like run around dunking on everybody. That's how I feel when I'm playing in a multiplayer group with somebody who's like as good as like Flurry or Arumba and they're like really going for it. And it's like, yeah, they should have their like we have the NBA, so people who are that good at basketball can play against each other. But if I'm running a multiplayer game where I just want to kind of like RP and screw around, I don't necessarily want someone who's going to like get a one tag world conquest in 150 years or whatever. Yeah. So,
I mean, playing multiplayer would be kind of hard to get a one tag conquest without being able to pause.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah.
What do you mean the exploits that I need are banned? What do you mean you ban exploits? What is this? This is 1444, not 1939. What the hell's going on? Underhanded Nazi reference. God damn.
Well, yeah. Obviously, overall, I'm pretty excited about this update. I've been saying Southeast Asia needs to get some love for a long time. And it's cool that they finally are. And I'm looking forward to seeing some of the mission trees and stuff in the future dev diaries. Thank you to Neon DT for sticking around through the summer to give us stuff to talk about. But then every time Paradox gives me something, I just demand more. So at this point, I'm going to say, let's add maybe a couple Australian Aboriginal nomadic tribes. Let's add some Bantu kingdoms to southeastern Africa. Actually, a really interesting idea that I came up with when we were talking about this on Twitter is that maybe they could spawn when there is enough European presence in South Africa, because there weren't a ton of organized kingdoms in Southern Africa when the Europeans showed up, but they did start to band together and centralize their rule, in opposition to the settlers. So that would be kind of interesting. Yeah. Like you wouldn't be able to start out as them, but you could, tag switch to them when they show up, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's precedent in EU4 for tags appearing like that.
Right.
The one between Egypt and Sub-Saharan Africa is...
Yes. I can never remember which kingdom that is, but yeah, they appear partway into the game.
I think it starts with a W or maybe an M.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Yeah. And then other than that, a total complete overhaul of how we think about the Americas would be cool, but I don't know if that's a project that I have any real hope that they would undertake at this point in the development cycle. Maybe cross your fingers for EU5. I've ranted about this extensively on Twitter if you want to hear more about it. But someone in Discord I'm in pointed out the way that EU4 represents North America historiographically is like literally 100 years out of date. It's a century behind our current understanding of what that area actually looked like. So yeah, Conquest of Paradise I don't think was good enough. I'd love to see him take another crack at it. Yeah. But just because every time you give me something, I demand something else doesn't mean I'm not appreciative that they are doing this big Southeast Asia update, which I am sure I will have lots of fun with.
Yes. Thank you for this. Now can I have this too?
Y'all are just greedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, well, they've made the best historical strategy game about the early modern era, and I want to know where the ceiling is. How much better can it get?
Yeah.
When you're on top, there's nowhere to go but up. So that's, I think, why I kind of scrutinize Paradox games a little bit more than I maybe do other strategy games. So
honestly, you'll probably have to wait for EU5 for a lot of those changes, though.
Yeah, probably, which I'm fine with. EU4's, it's in a good spot right now. There's certainly things we can say that it could do better. Certainly things we could make a wish list, but. It's a really good game. I've played so much of it in the last two or 3 weeks.
What's interesting is Emperor was in 1.3 such a big group of changes that a lot of people were saying it was the holy fury of EU4. And yet they're showing us they're going to do more. What, Lambert?
I could have sworn it was Paradox themselves saying that it was the holy fury of EU4. Like I think they meant it in scale.
Officially said it.
I am not going to name my source on that quote, but it is somebody who worked at Paradox who no longer works at Paradox, and I will protect their anonymity in case there was any kind of like an NDA attached to that. So.
Well, no,
but yes,
I've even
I
had
was
people
told that by
in
somebody who worked
Twitch
at
chat.
Paradox at the time. Yes,
I've had people in Twitch chat wonder if it was, the holy fury of EU4.
Yeah,
maybe they meant it in scale rather than.
But yeah, the holy fury treatment for EU4 in relation to Emperor is something that was said directly to me over beers by somebody who worked at the company at the time. So that's where the source of that quote is, if anybody was wondering.
I think maybe we've just ran with that analogy just a little too far.
Yeah.
And maybe it was true at the time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
it is possible.
Yeah, maybe.
It's possible that what's going on with the world situation right now and the cancellation of cons and stuff is making people reevaluate when things happen.
Yeah. Or maybe they just didn't have the idea to start a new studio in Spain. And like when they got that idea, they're like, well, what are we going to do? And it's like, hey, why don't we just keep updating EU4 for another 10 years? Like that's possible, but that's just a decision that was made within the last little bit here.
Agamede has pointed out, though, we still don't have Animal Kingdoms for EU4.
I know.
No, but you do have Animal Kingdom. The bear has landed. Remember?
There you go.
There's
at least one Animal Kingdom, yeah. By the way, people in chat have pointed out the country we're thinking of was Funge, the one that spawns in Africa.
Which, guarantee,
as we all know, starts with a W.
That if you take a CK2 save file that has animal cultures, and you import it into EU4, they have animal cultures in EU4.
Well, there you go. Stop complaining, Agamede. It's all in already.
I have not used the save converter in so long that I never thought to test that, but that's awesome.
I tested that.
Actually put in that functionality.
I did a Netherlands run where we became horses, but long before that, someone gave me a save file that was where they had turned all of Great Britain into horses. This was long before Holy Fury.
Great idea for a campaign.
Yeah,
every country as their national animal.
That would be cool.
That would be cool. Awesome.
I mean, technically, all you'd have to do is change the localization files. Like, that wouldn't be that difficult of a mod to make. I mean, if you wanted to actually mod in animal portraits, that would be significantly more work. But I'm assuming even with the exporter now, you don't get animal portraits in your EU4.
Not that I noticed.
If you have Sunset Invasion turned on, the Falklands are a horse kingdom in the exported mod. Interesting.
And as Azoth is saying, you could just end up playing Equestria at War. See, there needs to be a converter from CK2 Animal Kingdoms to EU4 Animal Kingdoms to Victoria to Animal Kingdoms into Equestria at War.
But Victoria 2 is such an old and forgotten game. Why would you want to make a converter for it?
Yeah, true. Let's just make Victoria 3 and have the converter to that instead.
Victoria 3 just comes with Animal Kingdoms on day one. That's the pre-order bonus.
Red pandas everywhere.
Yeah, I like it. Yes, there would be a lot of eagles, as Valargane points out.
I think there might be more lions than eagles.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know. And then the Scottish have their unicorn.
Yeah. Well, then you could have the Battle of the Eagle and Lion, and then you could go have tea with your students. It's a lot of fun. Anything else about the EU4 Dev Diary this week before we move on and talk about other things?
I think it's important to point out that there are some bugs and things with Emperor right now. There's an issue with debt for countries. The people who are working on, creating these new tags and changing the map are not the same people who work on bug fixes. So the fact that this is being made isn't taking absolutely anything away from the bug fixing part, completely separate. Quit your whinge.
Yeah. And a lot of the QA people and coders are on vacation right now.
Yep.
Neon DT is delaying their vacation to work on this, and then we'll take a vacation later. So yes, I'm sure when the coders get back from vacation, which is something that every working person, I believe, should be entitled to, they'll get on top of that. But
there's even a note here in the dev diary pointing out that both Neon DT, who is a content designer, and Gagao, who's a moderator and also has moderated in this podcast chat before, have said multiple times that the subject is the Southeast Asia and not what's currently needs fixed.
Right. So let the QA people and the coders who work hard in the code mines to bring us these games, let them have their summer break, let them relax. You'd want the same thing if it were you. And they'll be back. They'll be back to fix those bugs. Don't worry about it. Okay. So the other little bit of news we got this week is we got to see the next early modern civilization for humankind, which is the Edo Japanese. It's the first Japanese civ we have seen so far. Kind of an interesting pick. Someone on Twitter was pointing out that the Edo period was kind of it was sort of an era of decline in a certain way. In other ways, it wasn't. Like, it was this political unification that happened after the Sengoku Jidai. Like, we'd just gotten through this Warring States period where there were all these daimyo fighting each other, and then finally the Tokugawa clan came out on top and unified the country, but they also, closed off the country and, sort of set Japan back in certain ways. Even though it was politically unified, it wasn't really making its mark on the world or allowing the rest of the world to make their mark on it.
But what's interesting
kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Is we have a new group, I think. Or have we
the
had
Esthete.
Yeah.
Which makes sense for the Edo period. They were very into doing art and stuff. And then I'm also interested that their unique unit is the Naginata Samurai, which makes me wonder, if they're being that specific, is there going to be another samurai unit, which you would think would be in the medieval period, because by the industrial age there weren't really samurai anymore. So
the Naginata
they
is
were just
the weapon.
using guns.
Right, yeah.
Despite what you see in the movie The Last Samurai, the samurai were actually quite happy to use guns and liked them quite a bit because they knew that was the best fighting weapon. And even in the medieval period, while they had swords, their most used weapon was a bow and arrow, because why should they get close to the people that want to kill them?
Yeah.
Makes sense, yeah. They had big bows, too. Like those samurai bows, I've seen one in a museum before. They're huge. Yeah. So, Valor Gain, the historical documentary, The Last Samurai. Yeah.
I actually kind of really like that movie.
I do like it. It's not historically accurate.
No, but
it is a good movie.
If you're looking for historical accuracy in Hollywood, what's wrong with you?
You're barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that the marketing for that movie was more of a problem in some ways than the movie itself was. They're making it Tom Cruise is the last samurai. And it's no, if you watch the movie, Tom Cruise is not the last samurai. He's just a guy that is there.
And the samurai
they put him on the posters.
In the title is more plural.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's they put him on the posters because he's the most famous person in the movie, but it's still more about the actual samurai than it is about Tom Cruise's character. But
I think actually history buffs over on YouTube did a good video talking about how historically accurate or inaccurate it is. I think he did that one.
Yeah.
Oh, good YouTuber if you've never checked him out.
In a while. Yeah.
He doesn't put videos out very often.
Valorian Endymion is pointing out, yes, the Heian period of Japan would actually go better with the Esthete tag because they were super into art. The Edo period also produced some interesting art. Saw the rise of some of the the cultural institutions we associate with Japan today. So, and then they get to the Tera, also known as the Ji, which is a Buddhist temple where both Buddha and kamis were worshipped. It's kind of an interesting to look at like the history of Buddhism in Japan and how it kind of like melded and, you know, imprinted on the local existing like Shinto spirituality.
So is kami a kind of Shinto, or is it?
No, kami is the gods of Shinto. Like you could have a kami of a certain river or a kami of a certain mountain. I mean, I'm not an expert on Shinto at all.
Well, I'd never heard the word kami before.
Yeah, it means god, but it also like not really referring to the Western concept of god. It can also be something like a spirit. So yeah,
they're gods, but they're not gods as we see in European pantheons and such.
Azoth basically said exactly the same thing in chat, right as I was saying it. closer to spirits for a Western perspective. Yeah.
For anyone who watches animes, quite a few animes will have they translated as spirits, and those are kamis, depending on what's going on in the show.
Kamehameha, that's one. Yeah. There we go. Nailed it. I'm an anime man.
That was a Hawaiian king, which, by the way, EU4, please add some Polynesian tags. I want to play. I mean, I've said that.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say it earlier because, like, that's something you've harped on about before. You want a Polynesian tag.
Like at the very least, give us Hawaii, like give us Kamehameha's Hawaiian kingdom and give us the Maori. Like at the very least, Tonga would be also a really interesting one. Japan, commies, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, the kami I think kami can also encompass what we would think of as gods. They just don't draw a supernatural, or they don't draw a distinction between supernatural beings of different ranks. They're all kind of just kami. And again, I'm not a Shinto person. I'm not a scholar of Shinto, so if I'm totally wrong, someone call me out on this in the comments. But like a god, like we would think of a god in like Greek mythology would be a kami, but also like a forest spirit could also be a kami, which is similar, interestingly, to kind of how the pre-Christian Norse world thought about them too, where like Vitir, which in English we would translate as whites, like Wight, could be anything from like an elf all the way up to like, you know, Thor. It's just a supernatural being. And, you know, Abrahamic religions tend to draw a distinction because it is important in those religions to distinguish between what is a god and what is like a spirit or a demon. But in a lot of world traditions, they don't really see that distinction. It's all just, you know, spirits of different power levels or supernatural creatures of different power levels. To bring it back around Dragon Ball Z, which is, you know, the nexus of everything.
Of America's introduction to anime. Well, Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon.
I watched Speed Racer before that, but yes, Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon was like, I think when most of the people my age group really got it.
Would it not be Pokemon as well?
Pokemon came
was
after,
I think. Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon, they came a good 3, 4, 5 years before Pokemon hit it big here.
Yeah, something like that.
Because I remember watching Sailor Moon when I was like 6, and I don't really remember Pokemon until I was like 10.
Yeah, I think Pokemon came out in the US in 1998, and then I don't know. Let's see. When did Toonami start?
I know Toonami was around by the time I was about 11, so 99.
Yeah.
I watched the Pokemans.
See,
no, but in all fairness, Haunter, best Pokemon. Don't even at me.
Original run from 1997 to 2008. So Toonami was like a year before Pokemon released in the US, I think. So at least a year.
I think Sailor Moon was before Toonami, though. Sailor Moon, when did it come out in the US?
Yeah, because there was the one, like, for a while there was like that block where it was like the bad guy from Space Ghost was the host, like before they got Sunny straight as a little robot or whatever.
So
we're getting deep into anime lore here.
Original run of Sailor Moon was 92 to 97, but I'm not sure when it came to the US.
Okay, so that was way before Toonami then, yeah.
Because I just remember my cousins had a couple episodes on VHS, back when 2 20-minute episodes took up a whole VHS tape.
Yeah.
Oh, it was 95.
Yep. Remember when you had to rewind stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that
Be
was...
kind. Please rewind.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Who, listening to this, does not know where that came from? Please tell us.
Be Kind Rewind is a really good film, as far as I can recall.
That is a good movie. Yeah, that's
But yeah, it came from VHS
Sweden.
It might be becoming robotic.
Not to us.
You sound fine to me.
Yeah.
I don't know about the stream, but yeah, I haven't noticed any echoey or robot-y stuff on my end. I just
switched this off as apparently NVIDIA is working when I have our lovely NoCB picture, but it's not working when I have anything else showing.
That's exactly what was happening to me when I was trying to host the stream on my old PC. So yeah, interesting.
I blame OBS.
That's why I go with AMD, because I don't have these problems.
But see, the NVIDIA is lovely because it cuts out the fan, and you don't understand how warm it gets in this little office when I'm wearing Rosebud in his carrier on me and we don't have central air.
Okay, all apart from the Rosebud part, totally understand. Although I do have my son climbing on me, and he's 4, so that means just like 4 times the heat, right? That's how it works.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that I do completely understand, and no, it sucks. I totally agree. It sucks being in a small office with like warm PC air. It's like, oh, horrible.
Yeah, and it's been really hot here in New York the past week.
Our heat wave sort of dissipated. We're at like 34 degrees, which I know you have no idea what that is, but it's bloody hot.
I do. My phone's usually in Celsius.
We're educated Americans. We can convert Celsius to Fahrenheit. Yeah.
No, don't convert. Just use Celsius.
Just anything over 25 starts getting hot, and if it's over 30, it's really hot.
Plus, I live in Finland, and our homes are designed to keep in heat because it goes to negative 36 where I live, which I think negative 36 is roughly where negative 36 in Fahrenheit is as well. Like, there's a point around there that it perfectly lines up.
Yeah, it's 27 degrees here in New York right now.
In Celsius?
Yes.
God, that's too hot. That's too hot for me. That's like 10 degrees too hot. Like 18
and that's not even
is like
bad.
Where I like it.
Saturday, it's supposed to be up to 33. Sunday's supposed to be up to 35.
Yeah, see, about that, no. Just no.
And that was Rose and Lambert with the weather. Now over to sports.
It's too hot for sports. Back to the weather.
All right, back to the weather. No, so we don't have a big topic this week, and we don't really have a lot of other news to talk about. But have either of you had any interesting adventures in your strategy gaming lives recently?
I thought we were going to keep going on sports, and I was like, "Yay, the Formula 1's back on." But no, if we're talking about grand strategy and stuff,
I mean, sports. I think Tottenham just beat Newgate. I mean, it's football or soccer or whatever you want to call it.
Well, clearly we call it football, as it's the Enlightened podcast here.
Well, yes, but I know there are 2 Americans that you're talking with here, so people might assume that we mean American football.
But you're enlightened, so you would call it. You would call British football.
But I don't want to confuse the audience.
But they're enlightened too, otherwise they wouldn't be watching us.
So the way British people do it is enlightened, and the way the rest of the world do it is primitive. Is that what you're saying here?
No, because it's only you that gets it wrong.
Okay, so only America is primitive. I gotcha. Okay.
No, places that learn English as a second language and they learn American-style English, like South Korea, they call it soccer.
Right, but that's a special case. And I mean,
the British invented the word soccer. I'm just saying.
Yes, and then we quickly realized that it was a terrible word and went back to calling it football. You didn't get that memo? Damn.
No.
But soccer is a more unique word than football.
I don't care.
Well, see, the Welsh were in charge of giving us the soccer memo, and they just put it on a sheep and put the sheep on a boat and pushed it out in the ocean, and it never got here. So this is Loris's fault again. Yeah.
Alfred, why are you talking about religion? Well, I mean, for football, I don't know why. I have no horse in this race. I don't even like the sport.
I mean, American football, I would argue, is like more important to religion than some people in the U.S.
Yeah,
so that's not.
I do not understand American football.
Well, even when you don't understand it, it can still be fun to go to an actual like football game where everyone around you is really into it.
Well, because I'll go to sports games just to like drink and hang out with people. Like that's the real reason I'm there. But
I'd rather go to a LAN party for that.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
A pub.
But there's, if you have a wide variety of friends, some people, prefer to be outside drinking beer rather than on their computer drinking beer.
Well, most
God, I haven't
outside.
had a beer in almost a year now.
Oh man. Well, you're good now. Like you can, or are you not supposed to start drinking yet? Or what?
When breastfeeding, if you have a drink, you have to wait 2 hours at least, if not 3 hours which means, when your little one eats every 3 hours, that means you got to chug it off. And I'm sorry, but my first beer after all this, I'm not going to want to chug. So
fair enough. Yeah. Any interesting campaign stories you guys have from since the last time we talked?
Just been playing a bit of Ottomans and a bit of France. Nothing too much interesting on the Paradox games front, but I did recently start playing Napoleon Total War because I was told that it was really good and I should try it, as I haven't tried it before. And it's really good and you should try it. And there's a lot of things in that game that I'm like, why is this not in modern Total War games? What the hell? And
it was pretty cool in a lot of ways. I think the main reason I find it hard to go back to Napoleon is because it does a really good job of modeling certain things about that era, but like the army sizes are so like ridiculously abstracted small compared to like the actual sizes of a Napoleonic army that like I feel like I can't really immerse myself in it. Like there should be 10 times as many troops in this battle as there actually are.
See, if we want to just get onto a little bit of a Total War rant for a little bit, that's my biggest problem with Total War right now is that 10, 15 years ago, back when I was playing Rome 1, one of the first games I played on my PC, playing Rome 1, I've got this huge army raid and fighting this huge enemy army, and it's cool and it's badass. And 15 years ago, me thinking, wow, what is this series gonna be like in 20 years time? These battles are gonna be real sized, where we're gonna have armies of 20,000, 30,000 on each side. And that's not the case, because battles are now smaller than they were in Rome 1. And it's like, why? And the reason is because all of the power of, every upgrade that PCs have had in the meantime, all that power hasn't been used to make bigger, grander battles. It's been used to make the models look pretty. And I honestly just could not give a single fuck about the prettiness of the models. I want a big battle.
Yeah, makes sense.
So
I don't know. Like, I would be curious to talk to somebody, and we should have we should have a Total War dev on here at some point. But I would like to ask them about: is it really a trade-off between like good-looking models and bigger battles, or is it just that CPUs, have not progressed enough to like have enough overhead to make them significantly bigger? Because I know Total War. Well, it is a GPU hog. If you crank the settings up, like usually, I think the CPU ends up being the bottleneck with Total War specifically, because it's so many individual agents and like there's only so much progress we've made in terms of CPU power.
GPU power is pointing out though it could be also AI, but the AI doesn't manage the large number of units well.
AI seems to have also gotten had worse in some cases as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's another one of my issues with Total War is that if there's something that isn't working perfectly, the next game will just strip it out. We had amazing siege battles in Attila. Total War especially was really good for sieges. And then Total War Warhammer came along, and I think it's pretty universally agreed upon that the Warhammer series games have the worst sieges of the entire franchise. They are awful. They're absolutely atrocious. And why? Why? You've got this absolute wealth of background. You can make castles and fortresses and all that are wacky and have... I mean, if you're playing against the Vampire Count and you're sieging a Vampire Counts thing, it should be insane. You should have a lot of elements that are just not possible in real life. And instead what we get is it's a fucking wall. It's one wall.
P. Guyton is saying that they dumbed down maps because the AI couldn't figure out how to siege a multi-sided settlement. Which there always were.
Fucking managed it in Medieval 1.
I mean, there always were there was some serious glitchiness. Like Attila definitely had some glitchiness with like the AI not understanding how to use like siege towers and stuff. But like Shogun 2 was fine because if you didn't have any siege weapons, they would just climb up the walls. Like I think Warhammer Total War has that now too, where they'll just put up ladders.
But they pull the ladders out of their ass, and it's so bad.
Yeah, I don't know. Like AI, I don't know. Quantum computing, just get on it. Like, let's just have. I mean, just make the computers faster. Just turn up the speed. Put more processor cores in there. I'm sure this is an extremely easy solution. I don't know why they haven't done it yet.
But like,
being totally sarcastic, if you're a programmer and listening to this.
It's not just sieges as well. Naval battles, where have they gone? I had a naval battle in Napoleon Total War today. It was amazing. It was the best naval combat I've had in any game ever. And then I could load up Total War Warhammer 2, and where's the naval battles? Oh, they literally don't exist. And then every game that's come out since then, naval battles kind of important to the Three Kingdoms period, and there's no naval battles. Like,
right,
what the hell?
Right. Like the Battle of Red Cliff, which is like the most famous battle from the Three Kingdoms era. They have it as a scripted battle that you can play that starts when you get off the boats. But like part of why that battle was interesting is what they did with the river to kind of change the course of the battle. So, I definitely see what you're saying about like with Warhammer, where I want to have like the Siege of Altdorf, where it's like a multi-stage thing where I have to like breach the outer defenses and then fight through the streets and stuff. I find it tolerable. Like I don't find myself going, oh man, this is shit. This is just awful when I'm playing it, but it could be so much better.
It's more tolerable when you download maps that the community have made to make sieges great. The problem with those is they're often horrible resource hogs, and your game will just chug.
Got it.
It's just, there's so much to love about Total War. I absolutely adore Total War Warhammer 2. I've been a Warhammer fan longer than I've been a PC gamer. I love it. Mm-hmm. And it's just so disappointing to have something that you love so much just be so shit in some area. I really want it to have naval battles and good sieges. It just doesn't.
Fair enough.
And that makes me sad.
Rose, have you been up to anything interesting strategy-wise lately?
Just playing when I can my little CK2 game that I've been putting up on YouTube. I have to say, it's kind of amazing. You go from 1,200 troops fighting in Egypt to 70, and you walk away with 2,000 gold.
Yeah, that's an interesting kind of, because we're talking about how like Napoleonic battles, Total Wars never made them big enough. I feel like CK2 might be the only game that has ever scaled troop numbers somewhat realistically in like all different situations. because of how levies work and how they can be divisible down to like, oh, I can have a county that has like, it provides me with 8 guys, which is kind of historically accurate. Whereas like, even when I'm playing Imperator and like I'm playing in Germania and it's like, even starting with 1,000 warriors is probably a stretch. Like, the fact that this uses
in some cases, yes. I
think
the big problem with Imperator and troop numbers is it's so variable. It's so variable because the Romans, they had, I mean, they're a legion, 4,000 men. 4,000 men in Imperator is fucking nothing. If you go around with an army of 4,000 men, you lose. You can say, okay, that's not the entirety of what fought in a legion. You also had your the Socii, your Roman allies. You got some mercenaries from Gaul, all these kind of things. So say 8,000 men is your army size. Still nothing. You're going to do nothing with it. But then you think Alexander went through the entirety of the Persian Empire with 50,000 men, give or take. And 50,000 men is a decent army. You're not going to have that at the game start for anything other than like Maurya or the Seleucids. It's better, but then late game, when you have that kind of sized empire, you're running around with 250,000 men, which is a ton for civilized nations. Far too big. Except when you think, okay, well, about 30 years after the game starts, Brennus, the Gallic chieftain, rampaged through Greece with 150,000 men. It's so variable, and it's so difficult to actually pin down, like, how many men would actually be here.
And there's like a significant difference between like, I am going to round up my entire society and we're going to go down and raid, like, versus, okay, we have a sedentary, state of some sort that provides a certain number of people to fight. Yeah, it's tricky. It's like I wish it had a little bit more granularity with regards to tribal areas, the way CK2 does, where like the
even in
1,000 men is not the smallest subdivision of troops. Yeah.
Well, CK2 even has issues where you've got yourself a like, let's say, actually this happened in, I think, I can't remember if it was the video I just put up or the video I'm about to put up, but we're in Iceland. We've got like 1,000 troops. Some family member of mine decided to go raise troops, and they raised 2,000 troops and boats to conquer Iceland.
Yeah, which, I mean,
like, what?
I guess there's precedent for that in terms of like, oh, we're gonna call warriors from all around the land to like join this famous sea king on like an expedition. Like, we do have some examples of Vikings doing that. But they weren't a famous sea king.
They were just a nobody who decided they had a claim.
Yeah, so it should be based on spending a certain amount of prestige, and also for balance reasons, that's just weird that, like, you wouldn't be able to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. Like, no, I'm the legitimate ruler of Iceland, and now I'm going to call warriors from Norway to come help me, against your claim. Like, you should be able to do that, too.
It's also the location. Yeah. We're Irish in Iceland. And they were a descendant of someone who got a duchy for in Aquitaine because of a crusade, and they called warriors from Aquitaine.
I see.
It's just silliness like that. Or when you get a large empire and suddenly you've got these horse lords that just pop up out of nowhere, these raiders, that come tearing across your empire with 3,000 troops. And they spawn in the middle of your empire, and they're a totally different culture or religion. And you're like, where the flip did you come from?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of what the Mongols looked like to some people. Is where the flip did you guys come from?
Yeah, but at least the Mongols would start on the edge of your border. These guys just pop up in the middle of your nation.
Yeah, that's always been kind of weird.
Stealth mode.
Yeah, just having off-map troops show up. Somewhere, but I don't know. It's interesting. That could be like a whole show topic at some point down the line. Is like, what are actually accurate troop numbers for these eras that we're talking about. Who actually were these troops?
Yeah.
Where are they coming from? Like, how did the different various games model the three dimensions that like military historians called like breed 'em, lead 'em, and eat and feed 'em? You have to have a base of population that is breeding and providing you with more soldiers. You have to have a way to make sure they have food, which Imperator has started to do that more, which I really like with the supply train system. And then lead them. They have to have effective leadership, which I think most of the Paradox games have kind of gotten that down. It could be better, but they've gotten that element of it down pretty well.
And that's one thing that Horse Lords at least does in CK2 is that you have your population, and that's what feeds the amount of manpower that you create.
It's almost like population is a really good mechanic.
Yeah, like it's almost like pops should be in every game. It's weird.
I prefer population rather than like pops.
But you don't want to can of pops.
The distinction should probably be made there.
I would like it to be like Victoria 2, which was kind of a hybrid. Like you had pops, but the pops themselves could vary in size. It wasn't like you would grow a new noble pop. It would be like the size of your existing noble pop would go up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
More granular pops. Every pop a man or a woman or a child, whatever. But like every pop represents a single human.
That might be a little bit much for again. I think we're hitting up against. Can the CPU?
You know, every pop could be a person if you're sitting in like the Neolithic era or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Speaking of,
I want a Paleolithic Neolithic strategy game. I would actually love to play
have
that.
you seen Ancient Cities?
No.
It's been in production for several years now. God.
Yeah.
But it's looking pretty good. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let's see
it's a little bit like Dawn of Man, but looks a bit more gritty and realistic.
And it was being worked on from before Dawn of Man.
Oh, okay.
It's just taking forever indie dev. Let's see.
I like the aesthetic a lot. That looks really cool. Speaking of upcoming games of the city builder variety, have you guys been looking into Manor Lord?
I just saw that the other day.
It looks really good.
But I haven't.
It looks really, really good. Basically, think of your standard city builder, but then you also have like some rudimentary Total War combat on top of that. I don't know, maybe you want to play the trailer after you've seen the Ancient Cities one.
Ooh, this looks cool. Yeah. This Ancient Cities.
I like it.
Yeah, actually one of my favorite games of last year that like it got a very mixed critical reception, but I think it was one of the best 10 games of the year was Ancestors: The Humankind Odyssey.
Yes.
Which is basically you start as an ape and you like evolve into early man over time. I want to see that series continue where like the next one is about the Paleolithic with like tool making and
the only thing I have to say as someone who streams is that if they continue it, and I know there's a period of time where there's not going to be much hair and there's not going to be any clothing yet, they need a setting that you can turn on that makes it blurred or makes them look like Ken dolls or something, because streaming on Twitch, it ain't going to happen if they don't do that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I think Cringer, I was watching him and he was playing it and he noticed, he was like, yeah, if this gets any more anatomically correct, I don't think you guys can handle it, y'all.
Yeah, there's definitely some like paleo boobs going on by the end there. Yeah.
Well, there's more than just paleo. Boobs. The men are pretty anatomically correct too.
I don't recall that, but yeah,
I mean, you weren't around at the time.
No, yeah, I wasn't around. I wasn't around during the evolution of Homo ergaster. That's a little bit before my time. Like I like some of the music from that era, but it's it's all stuff I was introduced to later. So yeah. Interesting. Interesting.
If you want to pull up Manor Lords as well.
Yep.
Which, I mean, the name that they've chosen for that, it's like Bannerlord has been in production for like a decade. You really wanted to go that close with the name? It is a little bit sketch, but I mean, it looks so good. It looks so good.
It really does.
I think a big part of that is the way that they've done a lot of the art style for it, like trees and grass and all that is photo mapped. So it's like, it's pictures of real things taken from a bunch of different angles. And you're like literally seeing a photo of a tree, but it's 3D. Obviously you can't really do that for humans.
I mean, that for me is like the classic problem of the city builder genre, is that the way that it's existed since like SimCity 1 is something that almost never, ever happens, which is that you have a big open field and then a modern city is just built from square one on top of it. Like there's so few cases of that ever happening, like in history. There are some.
I think Banished does it pretty well.
Even planned cities are usually built on top of another city that's now been destroyed. Right. Like, let's say, London after the Great Fire. Or I think Moscow. No, not Moscow. Was it Leningrad where they completely built it from scratch? One of the Russian cities.
Could be. I don't know. I don't know off
Leningrad.
The top of my head, like that's why I love Do Not Eat's City Skylines videos, which you should definitely check out if you haven't watched them, because he actually modded the game so he could show, okay, here are some native, some like North American native fishing villages, and then the settlers show up, and then he builds forts and stuff, and then he kind of shows the progression of his city, through different periods of settlement, like it gets taken over by various different colonial powers, and but yeah, he had to do a lot of modding to make that work.
How many different cities in England are
similar to games you've played? City Skylines and Age of Empires 2.
Yeah, no, I could totally see that being the mix there.
Yeah, Age of Empires 2, which is a city builder if you played it correctly.
Totally.
Yeah, who plays Age of Empires as a skirmish RTS? Yeah.
Yeah, I see Lambert also wants this game.
I do. I really do.
Yep.
Don't show my
St. Petersburg.
I spent a lot of points on that.
Valorgain is saying it was St. Petersburg, also known as Petrograd, also known as Leningrad. It was the one that was rebuilt.
What's it called in EU4 right at the start of the game? Because it's none of those. It's
no, it's
is it not Neva? No, it's not Neva.
Neva.
It's the one next to Neva.
Also, can I say I love how this road builds? Why don't City Skylines roads let you build curved roads like this?
Yeah, I like my curvy organic looking cities. I don't want everything to be a grid.
Well, but the fact that it doesn't actually like place it fully down until you finish.
Oh, I see. That is cool.
So I'm guessing you can back up. So you like place road point, delete last, control adjust, curvatures.
That's cool.
Nice.
Like, we don't need no kinky roads here.
Ingermanland, that's the one. Thank you, Rabbit Boggling.
But
we've talked a little bit about what we've been up to, but where can people watch Rose, the things that you've been up to lately?
Right now YouTube is a little more steady than Twitch, but I'm enigmatic Rose 4 on both.
Nice.
And playing
CK2
for it, and then maybe some Sims, because it's just CK2 with a little less battles.
Of course. Which Sims do you play most? Because I know there's kind of a divide on that.
Sims 4.
Is it here? Like, this is a legitimate question. Like, is it like, am I gonna feel like I need to buy $500 worth of DLC if I tried to jump into The Sims 4 now? I know it's a similar question that is often asked about Paradox games.
Like with The Sims, basically you jump in, you play the base game, you've got a life simulator.
Okay.
And then the DLC add things like seasons, and a whole bunch of activities like holidays and stuff.
Got it.
Cats and Dogs adds cats and dogs and a whole veterinary career sort of that you can own and run a vet clinic. University, you go to university. And for some people, it doesn't feel like an incomplete game if you're just playing the base game. No, not if you're brand new to the game. Now, if you've played, if you played The Sims 3 with all the DLC and then you go to play The Sims 4 without any of the DLC, it's gonna hurt.
Because I played like a crap load of Sims 2, and I had like every DLC for that. Sims 3, I played a little bit. I think I bought some of the DLC for it, but like I wasn't like hugely into it the way I was with Sims 2 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I never really picked up 4 because it seemed like, okay, this is just going back to Sims 3, but with no DLC, but also like slightly worse. So I haven't gotten into it yet. As
P. Guyton he pointed out, they have a knitting DLC that's coming out. The trailer dropped for it yesterday. The thing is, what's really cool about it is that pack, like the Laundry Day stuff pack, was voted for by the community. They put up a poll and they said, "Hey, do you guys want a game pack or a stuff pack that focuses on arts and crafts? Do you want one that focuses on extra essential, like ghosts and vampires and stuff like that? Do you want a pack that focuses on this or that?" And people voted arts and crafts. And then they did another poll saying, okay, what type of arts and crafts? There's like glass blowing, knitting, I don't remember what else. And then people voted for knitting.
If glass blowing is there, why would you choose knitting? Glass blowing is so cool.
And then they put up concept art for all the items and they said, rate these. Which ones do you like the most? And so people voted on the items they wanted to put in the game.
Well, if you can't have a proper Iceland simulator if you don't have knitting. You got to be able to knit those
sweaters,
wool sweaters. Yeah, that's important.
Well,
and Norway, Iceland and Norway have those.
It's nice that they did that, but at the same time, knitting DLC. I don't get the
thing about there being no glass blowing is their big expansion pack that just came out, Eco Lifestyle. Was actually the overall topic from the last time they did the stuff pack when Laundry Day won the whole votes, concepts that people, they did the same voting. Laundry Day won. And Laundry Day was part of the Eco Lifestyle whole section. I don't know what the other ones were. I didn't vote at that one. But then they ended up making a whole giant expansion pack, which if anyone's watched me play it, it's where you get to go diving around in dumpsters as a homeless person and get furniture and completely
nice.
Decorate your home with things you find in dumpsters or you make.
maybe I'll just watch other people like you play it and decide if I want to jump into that rabbit hole, because I know I will want to buy like $400 worth of DLC if I
on sale right now. Actually,
yeah.
I know the 2 stuff packs I don't own were 50% off.
It's like I know I don't have the time or the money, but that rarely stops me from doing something. So
just do it vicariously through Rose. Go watch Rose do it.
Lambert, what have you been playing and where can people watch your stuff?
I've been playing a lot of EU4 lately and Pope Rome and the Pope in Rome. Yeah, that guy. France multiplayer and some modded EU4 as well with the 1356 mod. And that's all on my channel on YouTube.
Nice. That
you can go and check out on that link. And yeah, there might be some Total War Napoleon coming out soon because I'm really enjoying it.
So I am on Twitter as AsaTJ. That's ASATJ. My YouTube channel is called Lore Sworn Order. And we're still playing EU4 as Brittany. Speaking of Southeast Asia, started colonizing the Spice Islands recently, and it's making us very, very rich. We have become the world's number 4 great power without conquering a single province in Europe, which is kind of what I was trying to aim for at the very beginning. We just have the starting Brittany provinces, but we have like 6 colonial nations at this point, and we're kind of like the Dutch. It's like, yeah, we have this little area that's ours in Europe, and then we're going to go conquer the world. So that's been a lot of fun. And then we're also playing Total War 3 Kingdoms still as Zhongyan, the Bandit King. Just got into a big kind of messy war with Gongsun San, where I thought Liu Bei was going to help me because he was also at war with Gongsun San. And then the turn after I declared war, I just saw all of Gongsun San's armies descend on Liu Bei and completely demolish him. And I'm like, all right, well, haha, I'm in danger. So that's gonna get interesting. And of course, follow the podcast. We're NoCB Cast on all of these great platforms that you can listen to us on. And till then, I think we'll see you next week.
Where I will not be here, sadly. Oh yeah,
Rose will not be here next week. We'll probably try to line up a guest. No confirmation on who that's going to be yet, but
yep.
Yeah, we'll probably have a guest next week.
Yeah, we'll have to tell me how many tangents they get off on without me here.
All of them.
Yeah,
all of them.
I mean, we have multiple episodes worth of evidence of how many tangents we get on when Rose isn't here. But
oh yeah,
don't forget to remind them to change the episode number, guys.
Yeah. Yes.
I take
yell at me on
100% responsibility for this. Wait, no, I don't. I'm just
we hear that.
Okay, then I absolve myself completely. It's not my problem anymore. Lambert has claimed that.
Yeah, I mean, you have enough fault going your way when it comes to putting the episodes on YouTube.
Yes. When we get the episodes on YouTube?
This podcast is over. Goodbye. Bye, everybody. Bye. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye from the Android as well.